Goeiedag, good day, fellow South Africans and citizens of the world.
I've been looking around for salvation. I've been looking around for the truth. All around me I see frustration, and I looked all over till I found you. I sit and listen to your stories, and you're telling me, please don't worry. So lot in this world you should know, and love in life is where you should go. If you're looking for somewhere to go, if you're looking for someone to know, if you're looking for someone to guide you, then love in life will guide you.
Goeienaand, good evening, fellow South Africans and citizens of the world, and welcome to tonight's live stream. Well, first off, I've got an important message that came from Fiki, or Fiona Timms. She contacted me a short while ago, and I see that Fiki is here in the side chat as well. Hi, Fiki. And she says, please, could you ask for our Loving Life family members to pray for my younger sister, Delia. She's the one I used to torment when we were very little. She caught COVID at Christmas last year, was very sick, but recovered, apparently back to full good health. She had one jab, and 1 month later, this week, she is desperately ill with COVID again. Her partner, Don, also has COVID, but is not nearly as sick as Delia is. Having just lost William, my older sister's son, as you can imagine, we are desperately worried about Delia and losing her now. Apparently, Johannesburg is rife with the virus, and a lot of her friends have COVID now as well. There is talk about a far stricter lockdown in the Johannesburg area. Now, I just want to put out some information here for people. I know there are quite a few people who are our Loving Life family who are suffering from COVID at the moment. And I just want to give a shout out once again to Calais' partner, Dr. Ward, who treated Marlena. As a direct result, Marlena made a very speedy recovery. Please make a note of his clinic phone number in case someone in your family gets COVID. He could be the best option for a quick recovery. Now, he's based at Bryanston, so he's right between Johannesburg and Pretoria. There are his phone contact details. Strongly recommend you contact this fellow if you got COVID. He's got all sorts of alternative vitamins and stuff that he pumps into you intravenously. You know, he's very, very good at what he does. So that's just a plug for Dr. Walter Ward. And he also only charges the normal Medicare prices. So there's no special expensive fees and stuff like that. So give him a call, and if you've got COVID, and see what can happen there. All right, let's get on to tonight's subject. In early July 2020, several farmers living in the Elandsfontein district were targeted by squatters who illegally occupied their land. Loving Life covered the events following this land grab and drew global attention to the farmers' plight. Here is a video taken at the time. You'll see how Clinton, the farmer I interviewed in a live stream, was directly threatened by the illegal squatters. Let's have a look at that quickly.
Elandsfontein. And there is a little comment that came with the image, and it says, "The look of a man that has exploited his own people by selling them properties which he never owned. The look in his face when the rightful owners expose him on the day his victims got removed from the said properties." The photo was taken during the illegal land occupation evictions that took place almost a week ago. This man sold pieces of land that did not belong to him, nor was it on the market for sale. These pieces of land belonged to private landowners, which they bought and worked hard for. You might ask who his target market was. He targeted vulnerable, poorest of the poor. He defrauded them out of their last bit of money they had, just to be evicted a short while later. The hard reality is that these people that were defrauded will continue to blame the rightful owners of the property, even though they had nothing to do with these dealings. Now, last weekend, Clinton, one of the people you'll meet tonight, faced an angry mob who threatened him from outside his home. Let's have a look at that.
If you erect the shacks, we're gonna destroy it. If you erect shacks, we're gonna destroy it. There's a court order against it, and it's not your land. We will destroy it. It's fine. We're gonna fight, my friends.
Okay, I think you get the idea.
We're gonna remove it.
I think you get the idea of what happened there. Let's continue. It was on the 4th of July 2020, following the attempted land grab at Elandsfontein, where Marcus Sevenster decided to put boots on the ground to help his fellow farmers. There were certain values he added to the operation that made a difference. By sending an SOS out on groups to join him in the venture, he quickly gathered 2 WhatsApp groups to help out at Elandsfontein. After the operation at Elandsfontein was done, he had these first responders on groups and decided to create groups of 100 nationally so men can respond quickly to land grabs and help you out with various situations like farm attacks and veld fires. And so 100 Man was born. Tonight I talked to Mark Sevenster about his organization, 100 Man. Please remember to subscribe to Loving Life on YouTube and to register on lovinglifetv.com, the new platform we are transitioning to. I'll get our guest on. I'll get Marcus on. Give me a second, guys. Hi, Marcus.
Hi, hello, Scott. How are you?
Excellent, thank you. You've got a finger in front of the camera. That's better.
Yeah, sorry about that. Sorry about that.
That's okay. Can you put the camera on a stable? There you go. Now it's stable. That's much better.
Stable.
Okay. Now, Marcus, I've just done a bit of an intro as to your group and how it was born or how it started, and of course the importance of what happened at Elandsfontein about a year ago now. It was nearly a year ago that you established 100 Man, wasn't it? Do you want to tell us about that?
Yeah, it's quite interesting, Scott. Around 4th of July last year, it's interesting that it was on Independence Day, America's Independence Day. And, I just figured, the boot has to hit the ground, boot has to come on the ground. Obviously I've been involved with a lot of things and so on. And, the groups on my cell phone and so. And, about 15 years ago, I did a couple of things for Landers in Centurion and so on. So I've always been involved, but I just realized that, the boot has to come on the ground. Our people really need help. And, from there on, I got the call, as like anyone else on the phone, a cry for help. Guys were in trouble. And I said, well, look, let's go. Let's put the boot on the ground. And I quickly SOS'd on all the groups and so on. And, in a net of a time, we got together and we were basically 4 guys that went through to Elandsfontein. And, once on arrival, every guy that went with us, had some abilities that he wanted to apply over there. You're always going to come somewhere and then report somewhere, right? If you want to help. And, there were a couple of things that I saw that weren't in place, and I figured, well, let me put in my weight and see what I can do to help the guys on the ground there, especially with, planning and, putting things on the wall and stuff like that. And, it quickly became something that even the organizations, from Griffin's are using that same model that I've established there today, and it works, But that's basically where it started. And, obviously, with all the guys that I gathered with all the groups, after the operation, I was stuck with this, a lot of responders, that wanted to go and help in situations like that. And I, figured, well, we need to do something with these guys. I either have to tell them, thank you very much for your help, goodbye, or do something with it, And, I said, well, one of the guys that went with me, he said, well, it's fairly easy, it's just to divide them in 100 guys on a group, I said, well, okay, now you have to give a group a name. So I just said, 100 men. And that's basically where it started.
Right.
So that's a fair background of there's a lot of detail, obviously, that went into the operation and so on. But that's the basis of where 100 men started.
Right. Now, there's a question here from Spinnekop or Charlotte Smith, and she says, where is Elandsfontein? Well, Elandsfontein is just south of Johannesburg. It's about 10, 15 kilometers south of Johannesburg?
Yeah, around about there.
Yeah. Okay. So that's exactly where Elandsfontein is. Now, tell us what the First Responders South Africa, or FRSA, does for people and organizations in South Africa.
Yeah, look, Scott, we're in a position where we really need help, and this FRSA approached 100 men, and it couldn't have been on a better time. Seeing with this economical situation that we are in right now, a lot of organizations struggle to get to ends meet, where they have responders and they have to respond, but someone's always getting a flat tire along the road, and someone is always getting hurt somewhere. You fall from a bucky or whatever, and it's a misstep of an ankle and stuff like that. And the organizations don't really have funds to help in situations like this. And FRSA really saw the gap in the market where there's a win-win situation, both for the organization and for obviously the responder. And what they did was they basically just went to African Unity Life, and they negotiated insurance policy with them. And that insurance policy puts 50 Rand in the organization's pocket. Now, obviously, they've negotiated with African Unity and, hulle het die arm blou gedraai. And they figured that it's a beautiful product, looking after the responder and putting 50 Rand back off the premium into the organization. So it leaves the organization with building up funds from the responders, where they can then help the responders in a crisis need. Especially it will help. Organizations don't necessarily have the funds to supply. How can I put this? Yesterday, my English is not that good.
Praat die taal.
You put,
Just speak Afrikaans if you find it easy in that little piece. That's okay.
yeah,
Because most people here
thank you
speak
very much.
Afrikaans.
Okay, so toerusting, né? The responders will always need something, whether it's fuel or something like that for the guys to help them with, things like a bulletproof jacket and stuff like that. It's not necessarily money that is there, but 50 Rand a month going to the organization will put the organization in a position where they not only supply, can help the responders, but also the responder himself will benefit from it. Now, this is the first in South Africa. There isn't a product like this. The reason for it is that basically, if you are going to put your life at risk, your insurance policy is not necessarily gonna help you, because you are putting your life at risk.
Right.
Especially so that's the problem, and they saw it. And with the policy schedule from African Unity through FRSA, it stipulates exactly what a first responder is. We are allowed to go help our neighbor.
And your life is
we
still
are
covered.
allowed. And your life is still covered, and injuries are covered.
Right.
There's hospitalization, and everything that you need is there.
Yeah.
Hospitalization, and if you are
Okay.
permanently disabled and stuff like that.
Now, Marcus,
for a fraction of the price.
We'll get back to the African Union policy later, because I really want to just concentrate at this stage on FRSA. Now, the fiery, fierce woman in South Africa and the causes they strive for. Can you tell us about that? Because that is something that a lot of people around the world don't realize, what a big role that the ladies play when it comes to supporting their husbands and their partners and stuff like that.
Yeah, Scott, it's a very important point. Especially the last 5 years. There's always been groups, but the women groups have become definitely more prominent. It's a general feeling over in the country right now is that we feel that someone has to step up and someone has to do something. And, the women are always looking at their men and say, well, damn, do something. It's been 27 years. Someone has to do something. And because of the effect of leaders not contributing, or people don't see the effect of what they are working for, there is always meetings and there's always people coming together and always talking about how we should change it. But no one sees the difference. And that's where women in South Africa, they are just getting more fiery and fiery. Really, I can see it on the groups, and I'm in hundreds of groups. I can see how fiery the women started to get, and they started concentrating on groups and getting more involved with, trying to make a change, a physical change for our people. So that's a very important role. I don't necessarily see, our women as a first responder. I don't want to be careless about that. The future of our people is our women and our children. So I don't necessarily see them as first responders. Although I can tell you now, there's training being done, and women most probably shoot better than men in general. And men, I'm sorry, I've seen women shoot before, and I can tell you they are fiery. They are willing to go ahead and do whatever is necessary. They're getting fed up with men I shouldn't say this, but I want to say it how it is, Scott. They are getting fed up, and for a matter of fact, we all are getting fed up with a lot of talking and not much is done, you know?
Well, I just want to say that the Boer woman, or the Boer vrouw, traditionally is an incredible woman. I mean, you look at the Boer War, the way they actually got involved in the conflict. They would be loading the guns. They'd be, they would be right there at the front. They wouldn't hesitate. They were just so incredibly duty bound, dedicated, just amazing characters, amazing people. And the Afrikaner woman today is the same. They're very, very strong. And if the men don't start working together, Eendracht maakt macht, I think that the women are going to actually take over the control of how we respond to all this, because there's so many men out there who've got these different organizations. They won't talk to each other. You've got to work together. And I think the thing that women can do is to actually be the catalyst for this to happen. And, organizations like Vrouwenkrag, who I spoke to just the other day on the live stream, are fantastic. But what are your thoughts about the role of the women in actually bringing these organizations together?
You see, Scott, I feel that the women in general is overseeing our differences more than the men are. The men are factually going into history and saying, but we can't make the same mistakes. And they are rightfully right to say that. It's applicable as well. But I think the woman is really going into a dynamic where they are going to decide, and that many of them are deciding that this is enough now, guys. You can't stop us. You can't just go back to the where we come from and the mistakes we are doing. This is now. And this is what they are driving. So I think that in general, women are definitely, contributing to a more medium and say, just work with what we have right now. And they are 100% right. I can tell you that, we are still fighting. And I think that's another point in one of our points over there, is that we are keep looking at a couple of things, It's in the video that was made and sponsored by FRSA. Brilliant work the guys doing. But in the video I made is specifically that you'll see that the video was made in a tug of war between two things, and it's emancipation on this side and seceding on this side. They're pulling, it's a tug of war, and they're getting nowhere. The same.
Okay,
the same
we'll
thing
get
with
we'll get to
Boer
that.
and Afrikaans.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a second. I just want you to tell us about Vrouwenkrag, because I mean I've spoken to a couple of the ladies from Vrouwenkrag, and as I say, I'm very, very inspired by their drive, the way they are so determined to achieve things, to get South Africa back on the road again. Tell us from your own personal perspective how you find working with Vrouwenkrag.
Well, Vrouwenkrag is very dynamic. There's not just one thing that they do. They are doing a lot of things, which is great. It's very dynamic. It's diverse, and they'll always have something to fall back to. If Plan A fails. 100 men, 100 men, from my point of view, has to shift to another dynamic where we can work together with Vrouwenkrag, not just with a referendum, where there will be a support from 100 men, but they are looking into situation land where they can start producing for our people and start giving homes to the homeless and jobs to the jobless. Where they can create a land space where they can do that. And seeing that I'm 100% for that, and have all intent to initiate 100 men as the security barrier to help at least with a security barrier when we get the poor people and the homeless people on ground like that. Obviously, 100 Men is not going to do it by itself. There's a lot of organizations that we have to work with to create the safety environment for that people to function in. So Vrou is doing brilliant work, as far as I'm concerned. I'm happy with what they're doing. I'm happy to negotiate a couple of terms with them. They've done such a lot of work, Scott. If you spoke to them, they really tapped into a lot of resources, and human resources for them is an A+ point,
Yeah.
which is my point of view as well. So I definitely see a future where we are going, and coming 3rd July, we hope to establish that we are working on this project together.
Yeah. Well, I think it's time that the men who sit around the barbecue with a beer and talk about this, that, and the other and do nothing, it's time that they actually joined organizations like 100 Man and took a positive step for their own future and their family's future. Now, you mentioned that there are other towns and cities where 100 Man is now setting up. How many different units have you got across South Africa? Now, you don't have to be specific, but do you have them in different towns? Just without going into too much detail, just tell us how that's going.
Yeah, sure. Scott, look, what makes 100 Men a little bit different from other organizations is 100 Men is specifically a responder unit. There's about 133 groups around South Africa,
Wow.
which are divided in sectors. So I basically just went and I geographically looked at South Africa and divided into sectors. And some sectors may have 2 to 5 towns in that sector, and the people join there, but it should be responders. You can't be elderly or not a responder, unfortunately. The reason for that is obviously when I activate it and all the groups are closed. Okay, when that sector is activated, then people can go and respond. And I need to tell a farmer which is in trouble that, look, I've got 80 people here, or I've got 100 people here that I can activate right now. So I need the people that are, involved with 100 Men and are first responders, that they are responders as a matter of fact. So that's basically 133 sectors over the country. And then there's 100 women as well, 100 vrou.
Yeah.
They are a place for them as well. And they play a critical role to supply the logistics and obviously the streamlining of information.
Yeah.
Information is a very big problem in South Africa on these groups, because there's cross information and misinformation about a situation, and it's very difficult for us to canalize information to get to the leaders so we can respond and make the right decision. So it's very important where women are going to play a role in 100 vrou. To make that difference. Logistically, there's always going to be water, there's always going to be food, there's always going to be fuel and stuff needed like that, and that's where 100 vrou will play a big difference.
Right. Now, for people listening, and they're saying, what's all this talk about 100 Men and first responders and stuff like that? Well, let me explain that the situation in South Africa is so dire now that South Africa is literally like a country at war with itself, because when you consider the number of murders that happen, the way crime is just completely out of control, and you need to now basically have units like 100 Man, which can come in and act as a huge deterrent for these thugs, these gangs, these people who've been formed under this corrupt ANC government, who just go out there and they're literally gangsters. They're all over the place in South Africa, and South Africa is, as I said, really on a war footing. And this is why people need to start becoming involved and working together so that they can defend themselves, their families, and secure their assets. Because if they don't, they're going to be taken from them, because that's what is going on in South Africa now. Okay, so let's continue with the discussion about the emancipation, which you mentioned just a moment ago, and versus seceding. I think a lot of people are thinking that secession of various parts of South Africa is the best way to go forward. Have like a federation of states which are culturally independent. And historically, if you look at the Free State and you look at the Transvaal, those were two states formed by the Boerfolk back in the 1800s. And it was the British who basically stole them from the Boer folk. And of course, we know what happened historically after that. But we've also got the Western Cape, where there are groups that want to secede from the rest of South Africa. And to me, that makes a lot of sense. What are your views regarding emancipation of the people versus secession versus a referendum, etc., etc., etc.?
Yeah, I'm going to be, there's going to be a stick over my bum over this, because I've mingled with a lot of leaders. I've sat around tables with various leaders. Whether it's Article 235 and whether it's emancipation or seceding or whatever, the discussion is so broad. And at the end of the day, that's exactly the things that are separating us, which is dividing us, not working together. One group says but secede, and the other group says but emancipate. But none of the two components come together on a table and say, well, this is our plan. This is our physical plan. We always talk about plans, but we don't put the plans on the table. And that's what I need. That's what we need. We need to consolidate those plans. Now, seceding is one thing. Emancipation, referendum, whatever you do, whether it's the same thing as if you vote. You might as well go ahead and you can vote. Now, I'm not comparing emancipation with voting. That's not the point. But the point I'm trying to make is that at the end of the day, it is a documentational formality. If you emancipate, it's a documentational formality. I can emancipate now. Within 30 days, I'm emancipated. That's it. And then what then? It won't help me a bit more. I'm not richer. I'm not better off. And it's a structure that still needs to be built. The same with secession. Okay. Well, let's stop talking about the procedures and what still needs to be done with secession and emancipation. The point is, if you're going to stand up and you say that this is now my area, this is now my ground, this is now the sovereign ground of our people, you still have to go to that place and you have to establish yourself. And when you establish yourself, you have to think that the people staying there already. Now, first of all, you've drawn attention to yourself all over the country with emancipation or seceding or a referendum or whatever you want to do. You've drawn the attention to yourself. And then you have to go and say, well, this is our area now. This is our sovereign ground. Please pick up your stuff and leave in a country as it is now. Now, I don't want to say this or that. Emancipation is what I want to do. I think that's the best route. But we have to apply it strategically. There is a strategic component that we can apply with emancipation. But to draw attention to yourself and say, we are going to emancipate, and go to the ground and say, well, we are emancipating this ground now and our people. What do we think the masses are going to do? The masses won't care about documentation. I can promise you that. They won't listen. They're uneducated for a reason. They've been made uneducational for many years. Schools have been burned down for reasons, and specifically for this. There are masses that just don't care about that. Damn, our own authorities don't even care about what's written in our constitution. What about the masses? They are just going to stand up and say, who do you think you are taking this ground? I heard that you guys are emancipating or seceding on this ground. We don't like that. The only thing they're going to do is they're going to start, they're going to pick the balloon with her, and then there's going to be a trouble. Now, what I don't want is, I don't want war. And I believe there's a lot of people in South Africa that don't want war. And I can tell you now that, Scott, a good general will always look at a way by avoiding a war. A war is an ugly thing. We can talk a lot about war. It's an ugly thing. We don't want to see that. I don't want my son to see this. So there is a strategic way, and I don't want to go into deep to it. I don't want to show the back of my tongue, about how to apply the strategic way. I've told the leaders many times, you have to prepare the ground first. But this is a strategic way. So we don't want war. And the moment you put your foot there and you tell your people, come in, this is our ground now. What do we think is going to happen? Scott, whether you emancipate or secede, you're going to have to move to an area where you've either seceded or emancipated and tell the people, come, this is our ground. You're pulling attention to yourself, to the masses. These guys don't know better. They don't know what emancipation even means. I mean, our people have only started to understand the word emancipation the last, 2 years maybe? And, I think the guys, a lot of people watch the movie. There's a movie, Harley Quinn and the Seven Dwarfs or something like that. The Emancipation of Harley Quinn and the Seven Dwarfs. I don't know what the movie is anyway. And, at the end of the day, people have an idea of what it's about. We've only heard about seceding the last 6 years maybe. So emancipation is a brand new word, and we have to understand. I just want to say this: emancipation. The word emancipation is just the process, the word for the name for moving yourself from one system to the other, and the other system is common law. We have to move out of the system and move into common law, and that's the ideal. That's where we want to be. But it has to be applied strategically. Really, we have to look at that, and that is exactly what is keeping us, apart. Because the one grouping, and that's that alliance grouping, that have already come together. There's a couple of guys, a couple of role players that sits around a table and they agree on one thing. And if it doesn't agree with another grouping, it just won't talk to the other grouping. That's as easy as that. And right. We need to speak from one mouth. I've gone, and I just want to show this real quick. After 100 men, I saw the problem on the.
Can I just interrupt for a second, just for people who are watching, because some people here have got limited English, just so you understand exactly what emancipation means. I've actually Googled the word and the definition, and it is to free from restraint, control, or the power of another, especially to free from bondage, emancipated the slaves, compare, enfranchise, to release from the care, responsibility, and control of one's parents. So basically it means that you get out of a bind that you're in, like what's happening in South Africa. And I just want to tell you where I'm seeing South Africa at the moment. I felt that there was going to be a civil war in South Africa, and it would be a black-on-black civil war. And I know that the ANC currently can't go into some townships to go and lobby for votes for the August elections because they will be mugged because the African population is now waking up to the fact that they have been dudded by this ANC cabal. Now, if South Africa collapses, which is very, very likely that it will collapse, the government will collapse, and you'll be left with a country that's basically leaderless. Now, that's the time where organizations like yours, like Boere Lichion, other people who've got groups of people who can actually form defensive mechanisms to secure that community. I think that's going to be a critical part of where South Africa rebuilds going forward, because even the farms, if people have got farms, they can take in a community onto that farm who can then re-establish themselves. Because I think the cities in South Africa are going to be absolutely chaotic if and when South Africa collapses. What are your thoughts on that, Marcus?
Yeah, it's a very interesting subject. I can tell you that. This is the basis of where are we going at? Where are we going to land? Are we looking at civil war? Is it going to be civil war? Yes, but Sia says this, said this, and that guy says no, but Sia was wrong, and whatever. But what my thoughts would be is that yes, we are in a downward spiral. Where it's going to end, yes, black on black, that's most probably the first thing that's going to happen. But if we are talking about organizations like mine getting together and have to establish safety for our people, safety is one thing. But if you don't have the money, you're in the wrong place. You have to start with, there's a lot of things you can do with a safety network, a national safety network. But if you don't have the funds to feed it, you're not going anywhere. It's good to say, yes, here I am. If I don't have a gun to protect my own people, that's a problem entirely different, So let's say it happens like it happens, and we need to be there as a safety. We have to first look at economics. And I can tell you, Scott, it was about 2-3 months ago where Becky Cele stood on a pedestal and he said on a podium, and he said, we have to understand that the economy has to get back into black people's hands. Now, we have to understand what he's actually saying there. He is telling us that the economy is slipping through their fingers. We would be in the wrong place, not intercepting that economy. That is what we need to do. If we can intercept the economy, then we are starting to get back the power, and then you can fund a lot of things. You can fund your organization. There's always things you're going to need to protect yourself, and so as well, the rest of the organizations can be funded. FRSA is helping with that, that's for sure. But as a collective, we have to look at the economy first, get the power in our hands so that we can fund the safety network. You're not going down the street with with a Uno Fiat. You're going down the street with a Samel or a Samel 50 or a Buffalo or something like that. That's stuff we need.
Yeah.
So where do we start with the economy? That's another question. Where are we going from here on? How much time do we have left? That's a very important point. How much time? And we have to understand, Scott, that there's a frog in the pot for a reason.
Yeah.
It was said by Cyril Ramaphosa numerous times.
Yeah.
And we have to understand that what he said there mustn't be misunderstood. We are thinking that when he said we are going to turn up the heat ever so slightly, we mustn't think that we are now going to have to jump out of the pot, and that's exactly what they want. If that happens, we are jumping out of the pot, and then it's over. That is exactly what they want. They want the slow cook. By the time you're dead, you won't even realize it. They don't want war. because everything will collapse and it will be taken over by international powers. That's for sure. So they need us to step over that line, and we must be very vigilant not to step over that line, because there is another way without war. That's for sure. So the frog needs to die a very slow death, and we have to take that time. So there's a lot of times, when things heated up, especially last year with the Corona and stuff, and we told each other, "Oh my goodness, here it comes, here come it now." And we are still at that time. We told ourselves, "Sure, I think we've got a year max. Then it's going to be done." 5 years ago, we said we don't have 5 years. 10 years ago, we said we don't have 5 years. I can promise you we have time. We just shouldn't step over the line, and start taking advantage of the time that we do have.
Marcus, I'll tell you what I feel about Hippo Eyes, as I call Cyril Ramaphosa. And by the way, we discovered where his iPad went. Jan van Riebeck.
Is that it?
Yeah, Jan van Riebeck took it.
I saw that one. I saw that one, yeah.
Now, there's one thing I've got to say about Hippo Eyes, and that is that we know he's a liar. He gets up there and he says these things which he knows are never going to happen. So he's a liar. But even more dangerous than that is that he is so devious. When you look at what he's doing with these new policies that are coming out, which are clearly aimed at dispossessing the minority white group in South Africa, there's a clear goal that he's working along. And you're right, it's boiling the frog. That's where he's aiming for. But I think that South Africa is as a country, and because of the finances, I think it's going to collapse, because the police service is a complete and utter joke right now. And yes, I know there's some really good police out there still, but if you look at the reports that are coming through with police now being involved in corruption, heading up gangs, handing out guns so that they can go ahead and shoot people up, the police service has become totally discredited. The army is a disgrace. The South African National Defence Force is a disgrace. The whole country is just sitting on a razor edge right now. And this is why organizations, again, like yours, where sensible people can help protect a community, are so important, because that's a huge deterrent for, starving people to come and attack if they know that they're going to be met with resistance. And as you say, this is a window in time where people should be getting involved, and of course the latest gun bill that they're trying to pass, which takes away your gun for self-defense, that is clearly part of this boiling frog syndrome. Now, let's just move on to the economics and a national safety network, because the national safety network has got to be really the most important thing, coordinating that, so when this collapse happens in South Africa, these groups can actually come out and basically take control of their community and protect their community. Tell us about how that's going to happen.
Yeah, Scott, the way I see it is that, it's nice to have a storage room, but if you don't know what in the storage room is, you don't know what you're going to do with that storage, So it's really a question of who, where, and what. I'm trying to get over the message, and it's very important. It's basic logistics when it comes to safety. When you know what you have, where you have it, and the wie, wat, waar, who, what, where, then you can start. One thing that I did was, at Elandsfontein, I needed to identify who they were, to tap into the experience One group might say that, but we've got a general over here. But yeah, did you serve? No, I didn't serve. Oh, over here is a major. He served. He outranks you. So we have to stop talking about what ranks in what organizations are, because I do understand the old commando style, and that's where we want to go. We want to use that, but we have to tap into what experience we do have. And that's very important. And then apply that. Then the rank system will make sense. But at this stage, it doesn't make sense at all. I'm sure that a lot of guys will agree with me on groups, And I do understand, I just want to prompt it out, that I do understand that the system needs to be used. It just needs to be used accordingly. So nationally, in a consolidating group with groups together, we can go say, who do I have? Who do you have? Where do you have what you have? What do you have? And where do you have it? You can't, I'm trying to set an example over here. You're not wearing a cap in the dark. You know what I'm saying? You use what you have accordingly. So once you have that, then you can start building a system, nationally. And communication is very important. In the safety sector, you have a lot of divisions. There's logistics, there's safety, there's communication, there's obviously there's a bunch of divisions that needs to be formed. That is one thing, to have that. Now we know who we are nationally, but we still need to fund it. Okay, so just turn the other way around and say, we have to work on the economics first. Because doing this is very easy. To form a national grid of safety is very easy. That can be done literally in 4 or 5 days with a couple of leaders together. But you have to fund it. You can't do anything with it if you can't fund it. You know what I'm saying? Scott, so it's very important that we do get together and talk about these things, but everything will flow from economy. Once you have the economy and once you have area and space that you can protect, then it starts beginning to make sense. We are running around right now treating symptoms. If there's a land grab over here, we are just running and we are on their turf. It's their playground. We are running to their playground. And they have the logistics. They have the money. They take a couple of buses and a couple of blokes and they drive them there. What do? We are climbing in each of every other's bakkie, and everyone's going with their own car, and we're just getting poorer. Now, I'm not saying we shouldn't do anything. That'll be irresponsible. It will be both irresponsible to do nothing and do something. But if we are going to do something, do it strategically. I spoke to Devin Hofmeyer the other day from Bitter Angus. And, it's a very interesting point. I don't want to exactly say what I want to say, but they did brilliant work at Cornwall Hill. Everyone don't see it that way. But if they treat it right, if they do it right, there's a very specific role that Bitter Angus do play in South Africa, for the youth. But a strategic point of view, I can agree with some of the things that they do. That's for sure. But at the end of the day, we have to look at it from a broader perspective. I'm really trying to get the guys together to be like-minded and think like-minded with each other, But like I say, Scott, we are talking a lot. We are saying a lot of things. And I haven't seen a leader, I can tell you, I haven't seen a leader who came to me on any meeting, putting a plan on the table and say, look, this is my plan. This is short-term, medium-term, and long-term, and this is my mission and my vision, what I see for South Africa. Not one leader. I haven't seen it. There's a lot of talk, and there's good ideas. There's brilliant ideas, but there's not a plan on the table. If you're going to apply emancipation, it's a very good idea, but what is the plan on the table? I'd like to emancipate. I've gotten to the point where I had the documents in my hand. And as time went by, I've realized, but we are approaching this thing totally the wrong way around. And it's a pity because there are guys like Marius Roos that literally worked hard and he's getting frustrated because I just want people to work together, you know. I'm on that point where I want people to work together as well. We're sitting with a big problem, Scott. Leaders in general, we can go into that. I can tell you a lot, I'm saying.
Well, look, Marcus, what I'd like to suggest is you give me the names of the leaders that you feel should be working together. And I will see if we can set up a live stream where we get you all on. I've done this before. I had two very different kettle of fish on. I had Neil de Beer, who's very much on the left-leaning side, and he had a debate with Isaac van Zyl from Boer Legion, and they spoke for a couple of hours, and they actually agreed on just about everything, which was quite extraordinary, and they both realized that. So by actually having a debate, having a discussion, having a moderator, you find that people suddenly say, hang on, these guys are talking just like I am. They're not this, that, and the other. And that's the only way to really cut through the crap, isn't it?
Well, Scott, I don't want to disappoint anyone. I don't want to disappoint you, but I'm done. I'm done with leaders. I'm done trying to get them together, trying to make them work together. We are literally sitting with, we have ego problems. We have problems under leaders, and I'm not going to say names, really, but we do have that problem.
Well, I'm not asking you to give names. All I'm saying is that if you want to give me a few names of people who you think should be talking to each other, and just give them to Marlena, and I'll ask Marlena to see if we can set up a live stream, because
that'll be great.
Yeah, because I think this is really the most pressing issue right now, because if you've got groups that have got thousands of followers that aren't talking to each other, then that's ridiculous. Because if you are talking to each other, you can then actually Eendracht maakt macht. It's a very simple formula. So
it is, isn't it?
Yeah, you just get those names to Marlena, and we'll try and set something up. And I take it you will participate in that kind of situation.
Yeah, well, Scott, like I say, I can give you about 40 names, about 40 leaders,
Right.
at least. They all need to work together. And I've tried it from the top. I'm done with that. I'm coming from my people now.
Yeah, well, look, I'll just give you a bit of history of Loving Life. We had the same situation with the secession groups in the Cape, and we were able to get now this group of secession leaders talking through a monthly meeting that they have through a good friend of the Loving Life family. It's Dr. Peter Hammond. They get together every month, and most of their differences have now been thrown away. There are one or two groups which are still not kind of coming to the party, but you can expect that. But hopefully down the track that'll happen. And all I'm saying is that we can look at trying to stimulate that kind of interaction between these leaders that are not talking to each other, because by not talking to each other, they are literally destroying their own futures and their families' futures. They've got to start talking together.
Absolutely, Scott. It's a big dream. If I'm still worried because literally emancipation is bumping heads with secession, and the guys don't want to talk to each other. They talk maybe here and there. I don't see it. The guys who say Afrikaner and the guys who say no Boer, they're bumping heads together. I don't see them working together. That's unfortunate. And I'm just literally saying, guys, it doesn't matter whether you want to secede or emancipate, if you want to use Article 235 or whatever you want to do, if you want to use a referendum, just come and put your plan on the table. Consolidate the plans. I've said that many times. to leaders directly, and the guys they just don't bother. But I'm hopeful that in accordance with loving life, it might be a good future. It might be something to look forward to.
Well, look, I think the way we'll tackle this is we'll get Marlena to contact the leaders and see who will come on to a live stream and have a debate, who won't, and those who it's like that biblical thing where Jesus gives that parable where a couple are getting married and they invite all their friends to the party, and a lot of them don't arrive, so they say, okay, well, people who are on the streets, you come and join us. And so, if people don't participate in the live stream, if they say, no, this is never going to work, that's fine. They can have their point of view, but we'll continue working with those that are prepared to sit down and just discuss things and, look at forging a future together.
No, absolutely, we can try that, Scott. I'll work along with that. In the meantime, I had to make that paradigm shift, and say I have to come for my people. My people have been rolling thumbs, my folk, for 27 years. For 27 years, waiting for these leaders. These leaders of today, average age 57. Plus minus, have been my age by the time it was 94, around 2000s. They were my age back then.
Yeah.
They saw the troubles coming. We all saw the troubles coming. And I don't want to say we didn't do anything, but our people, the Boer nation is falling apart. We are just suffering day by day, and we still keep on talking, on talking about these problems we had. We just have to get together and put the plan on the table and consolidate. That's all I'm asking.
Yeah.
And I don't want even need to be a part of it. I don't even see myself as a leader. I see myself as a coordinator. I was given
You've all got different skills.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
I'm sure one of the people that will come into this discussion would be Devin Hofmeyer from Bitter Rangers, because we've actually had Devin on a live stream in the past, and it'd be good to get him involved because he's one of the younger players in this whole area.
Sure, I agree.
All right. Now
we can move on.
Yeah. Now, First Responders South Africa, okay, as a unit, as an organization, where do you see it going in the future?
Well, I just want to be clear. I think we missed each other maybe here or there, but I want to make clear that First Responders South Africa is a company. It's not an organization. It's a company that went to African Union Life and went and negotiated an insurance policy specific for first responders, so they are providing the...
But you've got people who work within the structure of first responders, like your 100-man, etc., etc. That's what I'm talking about, is more that area, not the actual... look, what I'd like to get from you now, while we're talking about that African Unity Insurance Plan, which sounds excellent for people who are considering getting involved in this kind of activity. In other words, defending families and stuff like that. How do people contact you? What's the best way for people who are listening to contact you?
Well, they can contact me directly. They can get me at 076-216-2323, and then you can contact FRSA directly. And I'm going to give you the number now. I've got the flyer right in front of me. Yeah, if anyone's listening, please write this down. Get this on your phone. Phone 014-880-0660. Get in touch with them, and you can also send them a WhatsApp. It's easy as 061-648-7673. And then, it's brilliant what they can do for the organizations. The first responders, We need that. We need more companies like this that can get involved in helping our situation
Right.
where we are as first responders.
Okay, now just so I get those numbers right, your cell number is 076 216 2323.
It's my personal cell phone number. Yeah.
Okay, and African Unity is 014 8800 6600. Is that right?
Sorry. We have to go to FRSA directly. Work through them.
Ah.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So you're going to get a hold of FRSA, First Responders South Africa, and they handle the product. Obviously, they are 014-880-0660.
Okay, that's FRSA.
That's FRSA. Yes.
Okay, and then African Unity is 06164876773. Is that right?
No, that is the direct WhatsApp number to FRSA.
Okay, so these are both FRSA. Okay.
That's it.
All right. Okay, got it. Now, okay, so
African Unity is just the underwriter for the insurance policy. I just want to make that clear.
Right. Okay. So just in summary, what we've discussed today is 100-man, and basically that's not FRSA. That's an organization that actually helps people formulate a civil defense group in different regions, and you've got 133 different regions that people can get involved in.
Sure.
Do you want to take us through examples of things that 100-man has done since it's been formed? Like responding to a farm attack or whatever it might be. Give us some examples of what they've done.
Well, look, we like to see that we are dealing with the masses. It's not literally not always a farm attack or something like that. It is something that is happening right now with especially the masses, and that's where I trying to gather the masses from our first responders, to react to masses. So we're not responding to something that has already happened. Not necessarily. We want to put the boot on the ground. So typically a farmer will call. What happened basically on Kroondal? I don't know if you remember the situation there by Kroondal.
I do very faintly. Just fill us in with the details.
So we were contacted, and there was this aggressors, this land grabbers, and at that time I was on a panel with a couple of role players and a couple of really intuitive guys, and we strategized around it. And what happens is we go gather the information from the farmer. From the ground, the first guy that arrives there, that goes and help, we get his contact number, and then we start formulating a strategy, to approach what are we going to do, or whether we're going to, have a mandate signed and get a memorandum or whatever is necessary, So at Kroondal, we arrived, and again, we're working in accordance. What we'd like to see is that, I don't necessarily have all the experience on the ground. So what typically will happen is we gather there around, and pull up an ops room and say, look, pull up an infantry list, what we have and things like that. And from there on, we definitely are going to identify who we have, what kind of experience we do have, and then rank it out, and then formulate a strategy and protect the owner. At the end of the day, it's not just about protecting the property, but it's about protecting the owner as well.
So your organization does a lot of the actual, I guess you could call it preparation. In other words, assessing what people play different roles in a particular environment.
Yeah, look, we coordinate. We specifically coordinate around. Every group has as a role player, okay, with some experience, and that's where he is going to pitch in, and he's going to, with the guidance of the main panel, is going to get information, and we're going to guide him through the process, what we need and what we want. Because in that panel is, obviously someone that has a good knowledge of what the law says and stuff like that. Obviously a little bit of military strategy and so on. You have to always prepare for that, your point B and your point C. What's going to happen after this if this fails.
Okay.
So it's typical strategy,
Right.
And then once things are sorted out, 100 vrou is coming in. They sort for the logistics, the water and the fuel and stuff like that. And obviously by that time, there's a lot of women groups that are getting involved, and we work together.
Yeah.
And that's the brilliance of everything. When the moment the flame starts rising up, you see groups working together like you can't believe.
Yeah. No.
I can vouch for that.
Just talking about Vrouwenkrag, it's funny. Just before we went live, Leonie Boysons, who I've spoken to on a live stream, she Skyped me and said Marcus has sorted out his issue. And we won't go over what that issue was, but we had a little Skype issue which has now been resolved. But she's obviously very hands-on. Tell me about the way 100-man and Vrouwenkrag interact. Is there like a formal association? How does it work?
Yeah, you see, we've only recently, started working together. It's not like we've been in coordinates with each other for a year now. That's for sure. But we saw a gap, where I was on the point where I have to make a decision. Where am I going with people? Where am I going as a bigger ideal? And, I said, well, I'm going to launch a project, So Lyk Ons Toekoms, or English, this is what our future looks like. That's the project name that 100-man is going to launch. And, I started talking to Leonie and, Loki from Vrystaat, Saamstaan. He said, well, there's a link between Vrouwenkrag and what 100-man is doing. Just put these two together and let them launch the same project, And that was a brilliant idea. And I started working with Leonie, and I said, well, look, you guys have more or less the same ideals, and you're more than welcome to share the stage, Say what you want to say, bring the people together, and tap into people. Let them make the difference. You're always going to have a leader, but if you don't have people, if the leader doesn't have people to lead, you've got a problem. Right. And the other thing we're seeing with Scott is, that's just the thing. People get involved into this organizations and involved in these groups, and they feel that if they pay 50 Rand a month or 100 Rand a month, they are now safe. And that's not the fact. That's not the reality. We need each and every one om daai waarde te gaan toevoeg, to start getting involved, be involved and make the change, help the leader make the change, of that organization. And the reality is that we've saw through a statistic that only about 30%, and this is a fact, people. Mense, ek sê dit vandag vir julle, dis 'n feit. Only around 30% of the people on groups look at a leader and listen to a leader. Only 30%. The other statistic tells that only 10% of that 30% wants to make a difference. And I can tell you now, if there's maybe 350, 400,000 people involved in Boer organizations, it's a lot, maybe 400,000. So if you take that number, 30% of that, and then 10% of that 30,000, it's not a lot of people that want to make the change. This is now where I said, I'm drawing the line, I'm coming for my people. Enough working from the top, I'm coming for my people now. And each and every one that's going to pitch up at that event is going to have to make a choice. They're gonna have to get involved somehow to make the change. Help the leaders make the change. And it's an event that we're going to hold the 3rd of coming July, and we need you there. Really, we need each and every one there that can make the change. So there I can tell you more about emancipation, what the strategies are, and how we see it going forth from here. But we need to consolidate those human resources, add value to our lives, and add value to your future and your children's future. Be there and make the change. Vrou is going to be there. Vrystaat Saamstaan is going to be there. Hopefully Sierra Victor, Yaku Fourie from Sierra Victor is going to be there. We are all there for our people, coming for our people now, getting us together to work together. If we can do that, that'll be a success. And that is what the success will be for our country. We just need to put the boot on the ground. Start making the difference. Start being the difference. I'm pleading to my people. And ek praat met julle vanaand, Scott, if you give me a chance, I want to say something my people in Afrikaans. Mense, ons gaan moet saamwerk. Elke liewe een van julle het waarde om toe te voeg. Telefoon op, stuur 'n WhatsApp boodskap en sê jy 3 welding rods wat jy kan gee. En daai 3 welding rods gaan reguit vir ons mense. We need to go get our poor people. Our people are suffering, and we need to, ons nodig om hulle uit die kussings uit te lig, mense. Ons gaan te gronde, omdat ons agter leiers aanjaag. We need to stop that. We need to work together. Our leaders are nothing without you. You have to go make the difference. So please be there the 3rd of June. There's a lot of things that's going to happen for our people.
The 3rd of July.
This coming 3rd of July. On the video, there is a scroll down, that says it's going to be in Pretoria,
Right.
Camille Drift West. Obviously it's not going to be a once-off event. We have to do a couple of them in Pretoria, and then we're looking at branching out, having the same event on various towns.
Yeah.
And I know you want to.
Do you want to just run through the exact details of the event so people can just make notes?
So the one thing I identified is that people are always going to want to braai. And people always want to kuier, and people always want to listen to music. So I've sorted for that. Okay, there's going to be a braai. I'm sorting for the meat. The meat will be there. The food will be there. Just come. You will get a mask at the entrance. So and there's going to be music. There's going to be guys singing and entertainers and stuff like that. To keep you busy. We're going to have a lekker fire and lekker braai. We're going to mingle afterwards and so forth. So the event starts 10 o'clock in the morning. The video will be sent again with a flyer, and then attached to the flyer there will be a link. Just go ahead and look for 100 Man NPC on Facebook. Go ahead. You will find everything there by tomorrow. Everything will be there in the list posted. Your link where you can buy the ticket. The ticket is only 100 Rand, but keep in mind there will be a boerewors, there will be a chop, there will be the bykos, and there will be the entertainment. You'll get a mask together with that. The guys from F4SA is going to be there. If you want to have a chat with them and start getting involved, they will be there. 10 o'clock in the morning, we're starting. And then the event should, round off at around 5 o'clock. But around lunchtime, we will be braaiing, and we will be socializing a bit. That is what our people want, and unfortunately, we are still stuck in our braai rugby and brandewyn.
Yeah.
But not that we want a brandewyn. That's for sure. But the plates will be there. The only thing you have to bring is bring a chair. Bring a chair and bring your bright tongues. Everything else will be there. I'll see to that. It's only 100 Rand for adults. Children is free. We are sitting with a little bit of a problem with the corona coming up now with the new levels that might be pushed up. We'll have to see what happens after that. Scott, I can't say. Most probably over the weekend we'll get a level 5 for 25 days. I'm not sure about that, definitely, but it seems that they're going to push it through. If there's a chance that we can get together, we're going to push it either way. The information will be on 100-man NPC on Facebook for all of you to have a look at.
Right. Well, look, you touched on COVID, and let me just make it quite clear that the suggestion that COVID does not exist, I can tell you from first-hand experience, is wrong. It does exist. My views are that it's man-made, and I think that it comes from the funding that Dr. Fauci put into the Wuhan Institute of Virology. I think he's personally responsible for all the millions of people who've died around the world as a result of this obscene virus that's been released on us. And I think the thing that's even scarier is the fact that they're pushing out now these experimental vaccines, but that's another story altogether, which we can't discuss here because this is flying through YouTube, and we don't want this video being taken down. You put your finger up, Marcus. What did you want to say?
Yeah, about that. I'm not going to, I don't want to make a big story of it, but it's, around January, I've never made videos about the virus and stuff like that, but I made one video that I sent. And, the way I saw it, it is as if it plays out exactly like I predicted. I said that it's going to be implemented, and then it's going to be something that is going to be likely but fake. And then you get these anti-virus guys that says, no, this thing doesn't exist. And then all they have to do is roll out the real thing. And people really die, and people really get sick. So what's happening now is exactly that. You get two groups. The one group that doesn't believe and the group that does believe. So these two groups are playing each other out right now. They're fighting amongst each other. And then when we shouldn't go further on, I don't want this video to be removed.
Just leave it at that, because I look, the YouTube thought police are just obscene, I don't need another community strike on my Loving Life channel. Look, we'll leave that one alone. But if you want to find out more, please, guys, go to lovinglifetv.com, because there it's our own platform. It's not censorship city, so we can talk pretty freely about anything. Now, I think we've pretty well covered everything that we needed to cover, Marcus. Is there something that we might have missed out that you want to talk to people about?
I think around over here, those people. Yeah, I just want to touch around economy. I just want to. I think I can finish off with just a general approach to the people that's tuning in. People, we have to understand that economy is very important. Like I say, Bekele stood on a pedestal on a podium for a reason, and we have to understand what is going on right now. Each and every one of us need to go and make the difference. There's no time for ego. There's no time for yourself. We are still brandeweining, and this today. It's like a privilege to braai brandewyn and rugby still. We have to get our family involved. We have to get our people involved. Go to your neighbor and tell him, listen, wake up, work together with me, at least in your neighborhood. We are all sitting with crime, but we look at leaders way up there. Start in your community. Start building our people from bottom to bou van die onderkant af mense. So we have to work at economy. There is a plan, I can promise you. And, doesn't matter how many times I'm trying to tell the leaders, put your plans on the table. Well, I have no other choice than to try and convince people that this is economical approach to, en dit begin by landbou, dit begin by agriculture, we have to tap into that. I can just say there are 2 mega farmers that I know in South Africa that is tapping into international markets right now. I'm talking about farmers that took out staple voedsel van die tafel afgesmeer en wat intap by internasionale produkte. We have to learn something about that. These mega farmers know something that we don't know, and we have to tap in on it. So that's basically my roundup, Scott. I really dream and I have a big wish for our people to really start working together, not just as a people, but as leaders as well, not just the general society of our people, but the leaders as well,
Yeah, right. Well, look, Marcus, please get some names across to Marlena so we can try and set up this great debate or discussion or a bit of a powwow chat, getting people to actually talk to each other. Let's see if we can make some progress there, and I'm sure we can. We've done it before. And I just want to thank you for coming on tonight to talk to us, and please send Leonie my best wishes and say hi. I think she's doing a fantastic job. Just thank you so much for joining us tonight, and I want to thank the moderators for looking after the side chat. We had a bit of excitement last night. We had a feral troll who came on, and I think he was using multiple identities and causing crap in the side chat. But the moderators were right onto it. He was sorted so quickly. Nothing is ever dull on Loving Life.
Thank you very much, Scott. I just want to say that I've seen many of your shows, and my father's a big fan of you. Keeping updated with everything that you do, and you're doing very awesome work for our people in South Africa. It's a very good platform to start working together. It makes a difference, believe you me. Thank you very much for the opportunity, Scott, and everyone in Gordon's working on this project. Thank you very much, and thank you, FRSA.
Great. Now, well, I've got to say that I'm lucky because living in Australia, I can say a whole lot of stuff that you couldn't say if you lived in South Africa, even if you think it. So I'm sure that if I did fly into OR Tambo, I wouldn't get past the front gate. I think I'd be straight in a paddy wagon.
There will be security. Don't worry.
I'm waiting for it. I'm waiting for a change in government in South Africa, and then I could fly over and catch up with everybody. But at the moment, I feel like a refugee here in Australia because my heart and my spirit is in South Africa.
One of these days, we're going to send a private jet, don't worry.
Fantastic. All right.
Awesome.
Marcus, take care and have a great evening.
Thank you very much, Scott. You have a good evening, and then we'll talk soon.
Okay, fabulous. All right,
Thank
guys.
You, Scott.
That was Marcus from FRSA, or First Responders South Africa, and 100 Man. I've put his phone number in the side chat, and I might just do that again when I've actually shut down this live stream. I'll keep the side chat open for a couple of minutes. But please, guys, have a good evening. Be safe, and look forward to catching up with you soon again on our 8 p.m. live streams. Take care, and bye for now.